Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis. We are on Nessus. We are up here in Watcher's Grave, and Zur has arrived. So it is October 22nd. He will be here for the weekend through Tuesday's reset. We also recorded the last word. We were discussing the Witch Queen, dungeon fiasco pricing situation, and we got into a couple other discussions, Festival of the Lost, the stuff that's been going on with Spectral pages, kind of just difficulty versus rewards. It was a fun chat, so definitely check that one out. It'll be posted up on this channel tomorrow. But for now, let's see what he's got. First, we've got our weapon, and that is Graviton Lance. This is a fun pulse rifle if you don't have it. Perk here is Black Hole. The second shot of a burst rips a hole through space-time, doing high damage and recoil with no drop-off. So it's kind of ba-doom, ba-doom. It's like a little two-shot burst, basically. But it has really good damage on the second shot. That's why that one's kind of very crucial to be important. Kind of aim at the neck, get up to the head, chest ahead, kind of get that crit spot. The other prick is Cosmology. Kills with this weapon, doesn't even have to be headshot kills, just kills in general, cause enemy targets to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track targets. Overall, it's just a fun weapon, good for clearing ads, getting those perks to kind of explode. It's a fun weapon to use in the right situations, when pulse rifles are feeling good. Right now, they're okay, but it's like they're not kind of top of the meta. But if you don't have this, I definitely suggest buying it, messing around with it, maybe working on trying to get the catalyst type thing. But overall, it's fun when pulse rifles are in a nice spot. Hopefully this gets to, shine once again. All right, for the hunters, we've got the OathKeepers. Always cool, very ornate. Perk is very straightforward. Adamant Brace, bows charge can be held indefinitely. And one thing to know about bows is when you pull them back, if you release at the full, right when you get to that full extension and probably a very small window around that timing, you get a little bit of extra damage. It's not a ton. It might be like 5%, 2%, I don't know, but it is always a little bit extra damage. And basically what this means is you can walk around with a bow held indefinitely, always have that bonus damage. I think you can at least have that damage. And you're sitting there with always basically max damage and a bow's ready to be fired. So if you do enjoy bows, want to mess around with them a little more, this is kind of your jam. You've got 10 mobility for a hunter, which isn't bad. 17 on recovery, pretty good for PvP. You've got 12 discipline and 16 strength, not bad for grenades and melees, but intellect is 2. Most people do want a high intellect stat if you're not really, doing this around an intellect build. Maybe just bows aren't really doing that much. Maybe this will be good. 63 is not a bad, terrible roll. And overall, 17 recovery, some discipline, some strength, 10 mobility. It's not bad, but just intellect could use to definitely be higher on pretty much anybody's exotic because we all want our supers faster. So kind of your choice on if you like bows and want to use this, and also if intellect is important to you. Ursa Furiosa. This one we've got the Ursine Guard is your perk, moving faster while guarding when Sentinel Shield is active, and that's the middle tree super. Guarded damage converts to super energy when the super ends. Now, if you don't have Ursa Furiosa, I highly suggest you buy it, even though I'm going to tell you the stat roll in this one's mediocre at best. The big thing to note is Ursa Furiosa for the Sentinel Shield is going to help if you have a pair of these. Some people will take 2 Titans with Ursa Furiosa Sentinel Shields into, say, a Grandmaster, and they're trading supers back and forth, making orbs, things like that. It's definitely something that can have some major use. Now, is the stat roll on this very good? Not really. 21 in mobility is kind of a wasted for something that's going to be more of a defensive setup. Resilience, if you masterwork it, at least would be 10, which would help. Discipline 13, you have recovery of 2, which is spent, again, if this is a survival one, getting health back faster is important, that kind of hurts. Intellect's not even 10, and this is based around a super, so if you don't have this at all, at least put it in your vault, so you have 1 copy. But if you've already got a copy, I'm guessing most people's stat rolls are going to be better than this one, because the stat roll is not great. Finally, for the Warlocks, we've got the Lunafaction boost. Alchemical Etchings, your rifts gain the additional ability to increase weapon reload speeds. Empowering rifts make weapons effective over longer ranges. So you've got increased reload speed in any of your rifts. Empowering rifts give you more range, which I've seen people mess around some fun stuff in PvP. And, that's pretty straightforward. Your rifts do more reload and kind of weapon effects. You've got 20 mobility, which, if you're trying to take these into PvP, mess with some people, you're going to have a little faster movement in that thing. Especially if you're standing in your rift, your strafing is going to be much quicker. 11 recovery, 10 discipline, 8 intellect, 12 strength. If you masterwork this one, it would be up to 77. You'd get most things into double digits. Up there, resilience is kind of wasted on a warlock, not really required. You just need kind of the base minimum. It's not the worst stat roll. I don't know personally if I would want my mobility that high, but the others are at least not total trash. Again, this is kind of one of those, if you like using your rifts frequently, the stag right now for the damage reduction probably makes this one a little less appealing. But overall, again, this is one of those, you never quite know what's going to get buffed or nerfed. So if you don't have this one, it's good to add to your collections and make sure you've got at least a copy of this thing, because you never know when it's going to, you know, get a bit of a shift or get a bit of a buff, and all of a sudden this is like the best thing ever. So it's decent. I just don't think it's top of everything right now. All right, for our weapons, we've got Dire Promise. Now, somebody's probably in the comments going to tell me this is a good roll. I just personally wouldn't look at this and say this is ultra appealing. You've got high caliber rounds. That's a good thing. Reload speed will end up being max. You got decent range. You've also got the hit mark, which is going to increase some range as well. On a 140, couple bonuses to range. You've got a stability masterwork. I mean, those aren't looking too bad. Elemental Capacitor, it depends on your playstyle. If you're running a Void subclass, extra stability, little extra handling, might pair well with auto-loading holster, but I think these two together is not what people are considering a god roll. I mean, some people might like one, some people might like the other, but putting these two together, I don't think those two specifically are going to make this an amazing roll to me. But somebody in the comments could very easily tell me they love this roll. Who knows? Last Perdition's not a bad Void Pulse Rifle. If you don't have a Void Pulse Rifle literally anywhere in your vault, you may as well add something to your collection, so you've at least got that as a backup. Zen Moment, not bad. Not amazing, but not bad. You've also got increased range or stability, kind of your choice, depending on if you're going like PvP or PvE. Got a range masterwork, because this is kind of, you know, in that mid-range. It isn't going to hurt anything. You've got a short scope here, but you can boost the range a little bit, give some handling. If you're somebody who likes sliding around or staying crouched, like if that's your play style, this may benefit you. For me, firmly playing it is not something I'm usually looking for. Maybe it is for you, but this isn't speaking much to me. Cold Denial is going to be a slower pulse rifle. It's a 340. Come back here, you check this one out, it's a 390. But Cold Denial, you got Head Seeker. Body shots landed with this weapon increased precision damage for a short time. I wish it increased it a little more. I think Cool Guy did a video over Head Seeker. He liked it on one gun specifically previously. But overall, aiming for body shots to do less damage, just to have a headshot do more, it doesn't seem to give you enough on that headshot to make this worthwhile. It gives a little forgiveness if you get body shots, which could be beneficial depending on skill level or just range and accuracy and moving around and things of that nature. But overall, you know, rewarding body shots for a little extra damage on the head is not really going to be optimal per se. Killing Wind isn't bad though. Final blows grant increased mobility, weapon range. That's not too shabby. Light mag's always one that's nice to see. A bonus to range here, a little extra stability. Or you can go arrowhead break for some recoil and handling. It's not a bad Cold Denial, probably more of a PvP, see if you like how it feels roll. But overall, I don't know if I'd be too excited about this either. Main ingredient. Now, we already had a pretty solid main ingredient before. That's one of those things that I would definitely say the one that Xur had a few weeks ago was probably the God roll. But you have high impact reserves, and if you go into PvP with 2, you're going to do more damage with your 2. You've got snapshot sights, so if you do want to ADS with this thing, it's actually going to get you there quicker in a pinch. Accelerated coils is going to decrease the impact, which you really never are going for, but stability is actually going to be a good thing. It's going to help tighten up that spread, actually do some good things, and give that impact back to you. You've also got the red dot scope boosting out the range a little bit more, and some stability here. This isn't like the god of god rolls, but high impact reserve, snapshot sights, bonuses to stability, masterwork. This is a pretty good roll. It's not going to be the best, but like if you don't have a decent main ingredient, this one is definitely not something that you should like just skip over. If you don't have a great ingredient, I would suggest buying this. It's pretty decent. Icalo Sniper Rifle. Sniper rifles don't even have much of a purpose at this point. I know I use like Borealis for shield breaking purposes, but the way sniper rifles are set up right now, the way their DPS hits versus other things, then you got fusion rifles and linears pretty much killing everything right now. Snipers aren't talking too much. At some point, they might be good again. This has quick draw, which you may not need to switch weapons as quickly. Like, snapshot sights would be good. Quick draw, not so much. 4 times the charm's not bad in PvE. But again, these two together especially isn't going to make this a very exciting weapon, so you can probably skip this one just in general. We've got a Temptations Hook. This is an arc. Basically, it's a caster frame. You will launch a projectile with your heavy shot. Whirlwind Blade is never a bad thing to see on a sword. You've got Heavy Guard, Burst Guard. It's not a bad roll, but again, the main one you're looking for Whirlwind Blade and Relentless Strikes, these two right here. And then I think it's like Swordsman and Jagged Edge is what you're looking for kind of like the sword always. So, I mean, this one isn't the best. It's not the worst. It's fine. If you don't have an arc caster sword and you want to mess around, go for it. All right, for bottom dollar here, I'm seeing some things that I definitely like. Very high range right now from the perks that we've got equipped. It's not going to be the god roll because I think you're probably going to have something better than subsistence right here. But in general, you've got some very optimal things for range. You've got explosive payload. So as the bullet actually gets to its target, part of the damage is just the explosion, so it doesn't have the range drop off. You've got accurized rounds. You've got Hammer Forged Rifling, so just range and range without giving anything up. You do have stability, so technically you could have a range masterwork here, and subsistence could be replaced with something else, but a 3 out of 5, pretty solid roll. That's some pretty stout range on a 120 hand cannon. If you've ever wanted to see if you like 120s, this one is going to give you the range to really let you experiment with it. Stability is not going to be a bad thing, as this thing does kick like a mule, so if you want to go small bore for a little more stability, get into your masterwork, and then you can mess around with your mods down there. Overall, if you've never had a bottom dollar, never had one that you love, this is not a bad one by any means. It's not god roll, but it's decent, and without farming Gambit, it's definitely going to be one that you shouldn't pass up. Final thing we've got is the legendary armor. See if we've got any decent stats on this one. 59, I mean, not a bad distribution, but nothing that's too low to matter. 61, nothing too exciting there. 62, if you really want to run and punch stuff, that is your roll. And boots, 62, not bad. Could be higher, but not bad. That's actually not the worst I've seen. All right, so for the Warlock, we've got 59, 61 with some discipline, low resilience, high mobility. For the helm, again, 59, not terrible distribution, but not amazing. 62 with resilience and discipline, low recovery and intellect. Nothing really exciting on this one. All right, finally, we'll see if the hunters have anything good. We've got 61 with really high spiky on strength, decent mobility, not bad in recovery, but low on some important things like, intellect. 59, nothing amazing. 64, now granted, just a 64 base, 13 mobility, 10, 13, 12 in those middle pieces. That's a solid helm. Like, you can always put transmog on it if you don't like how it looks, but 64 for Hunter Helm, that's pretty well-rounded, decently distributed. Don't miss that one if you need one. And boots, 65, 16 in, 16 in mobility, 10 in recovery, which still is at least double digits, and 21 in intellect with 10 in strength. Not really wasting too much on discipline and resilience. You got some solid boots and definitely a good helmet there. So hunters win the armor game. I definitely think they're winning overall in combined weeks since they started doing that. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up Zur. As I said, last word, we had a friend of the show, Teasing Teddy, on. Got into a good discussion, so check out that one. That was up on audio platforms and will be live tomorrow here on the channel. If you guys want to find me on Twitter, it is at Ebontis. If you guys want to find me streaming, it's either twitch.tv/Ebontis or right here. So if you did enjoy the video, drop a like below, comment if I, missed a really good legendary roll or something along those lines. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. You'll see new videos or when I'm streaming right here on YouTube. If you want to support me directly, you can join the channel as a member or you can find me on Patreon. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.